here's an opportunity where you can buy some bounce back players, and I've got 3 of them for you. My first bounce back player, and honestly, he might not be super available in leagues because he's a breakout candidate for a lot of people, but there's a small window that has opened up recently on J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins is doing a hold-in of sorts right now for the Baltimore Ravens. He's looking for a new contract, and that has created a nice little window to buy him in most of your dynasty leagues. Now, here's why I think J.K. Dobbins could be an incredible bounce-back candidate. When we look at the differences between, a Greg Roman and now the Todd Monken offense for the Baltimore Ravens, it's huge for running backs. Todd Monken is comfortable giving his running backs 15 plus carries a game, and he has a number of running backs in his coaching career who has seen 45 plus targets. And I think if we apply those parameters to a J.K. Dobbins, we could see a top 15, maybe even top 12 season at the running back position for a healthy J.K. Dobbins, who is now another year removed from the ACL injury that hampered him so much last season. When we look at what he did when he was healthy last year, he was 4th in rushing efficiency, he was top 10 in yards per touch, and he was number 2 in missed tackles forced per touch. And that is not something to take for granted. He is one of the most efficient running backs in the NFL. The real question for him has been health and volume, what's going to happen, and Todd Monken comes in and fixes both of those things. In his final 5 games, J.K. Dobbins averaged over 13.5 fantasy points per game, and now this offense is looking to be improved with not just Mark Andrews healthy, Lamar Jackson there and healthy with a new contract, but they've got Zay Flowers added to this offense. Who knows with Rashad Bateman, but if he plays even a little bit more than he did last year, this is a healthy team coming into 2023 that could absolutely take off, and J.K. Dobbins would be a primary benefactor, probably the number one benefactor of this team improving in 2023 with Todd Monken. All right, my next bounce back candidate is a guy that has just gotten way too much hate. He has fallen down draft boards to an absolutely crazy level. Right now, Diontae Johnson has an ADP of wide receiver 38. That is absolutely crazy, but if you look on Sleeper, that is where he is at. He's actually never, outside of his rookie season, never been that poor of a wide receiver. He demands targets. He's an elite route runner. Check out Matt Harmon's reception perception to find out more about that. But Diontae Johnson is a guy who's going to see 130 targets plus. The last 2 seasons, he's seen over 140 targets. The big knock for him, obviously, last year was he didn't score a touchdown. His career average over his first 3 seasons, he averaged 6.6 touchdowns per season. If you give him just his career average, not even his career peak of touchdowns, that would have made him just outside of the top 15 wide receivers in full PPR. He is going, like I said, as wide receiver 38. He is an enormous bounce back candidate. You can get him in dynasty leagues for like a 20-24 second. And if you're a contender, that is the easiest trade in the world to make. People just do not believe in him. And even if you don't believe in Kenny Pickett, which I don't really believe in Kenny Pickett, even if you really do believe in George Pickens, and I do believe in George Pickens, Diontae Johnson is going to be the reliable route runner, the guy who ends up being the safety blanket for a young quarterback. I think he's going to lead this team in targets in 2023, even if George Pickens has a breakout season. You should definitely buy in on the Diontae Johnson bounce back. All right, my last bounce back, where you don't have to talk a ton about him because everybody knows about him, but it's Breece Hall. The reason I'm bringing him up is there has been some rumblings of Dalvin Cook maybe finding his way to the Jets. And if any Breece Hall managers in your league are worried about Dalvin Cook finding his way to the Jets, I am capitalizing. Breece Hall's bounce back is happening. Even if for some reason the Jets do bring in Dalvin Cook and you have traded for Breece Hall at the depressed value because of the Cook rumors, you should not be upset. He is going to maybe get less touches in that situation, but he's still an insanely efficient player. Breece Hall is an absolute phenom. He came out pretty young last year. He's a younger player for his class. He's only 8 months older than Bijan Robinson. So in dynasty leagues, especially if you've bought Breece Hall or you're about to make a move for Breece Hall at a depressed price for Dalvin Cook, ACL, whatever it might be, there is almost no circumstance that you're going to be upset with the dynasty value of Breece Hall over the course of the next 2 seasons. Because even if this season he is a mid-range RB2, that is 100% fine because his value then increases heading into next season for what we know from historic generalities about the ACL injury, right? That year 2 is kind of the full season back, what we've seen with Saquon, what we're hoping to see with Dobbins, things like that. So ultimately, if you go after Breece Hall right now, I think he is a prime candidate to bounce back, give you at least RB2 with upside numbers. And if he does come back week 1 fully healthy, he is a candidate to be the RB1 overall. That's how good Breece Hall is. He's a huge bounce back candidate for me. You should be buying at any depressed price you can right now. He is a stud.